So this is Marta Marquez. She's a filmmaker, journalist. She's one of our board members. She was a juror this year. And she has done a great deal of research over the years on film festivals for various jobs that she's worked. So I had asked her if she would mind kind of, because I constantly have people email me to ask me, where they should submit their festival, their film, what festival they should submit their film to. And I honestly don't know, like, unless I see the film, right? Like, unless I see the film and understand the approach and the budget, like it's kind of, there's a lot of factors. But I think Marta has put together a very nice overview. So Marta, take it away.
Hello. So yeah, for this year, we decided to do this little workshop. So the people who are about to approach to the festival run, they have a better idea of what they are going to find. Very simple concepts, but I think it's very important to know. And after, you can research more, so you can fit your movie and your style into the whole catalog of festivals that we have. Okay, here we are. So the first thing, what you need to have ready before approaching the festival run. First of all, it might sound obvious, but you need your picture, your biography, a good synopsis of your film, a trailer that is not more than 1 minute. Maybe you can upload that to YouTube. A few movie clips, because some festivals, they like to have for promotion. Your text details for your movie. A film poster, of course. If you have behind the scenes pictures, it would be good also. Some festivals
Well,
like
you say of course, but oftentimes, like, I get Film Freeway submissions with absolutely no information. So
yeah, it's true. You know this more than anyone. This is how we are putting all this information together. And it's good also to have a clip of yourself introducing the film and who you are, because especially with all the COVID situation, everything has gone online so much that you have to be comfortable and you have to know how to talk about your film. Because sometimes you make a film and you don't prepare your speech, or you are not ready to have an interview with someone. You get selected and you get all the excitement. And when the time comes where you have to talk about your film, you kind of freeze. So just keep all these details in mind, that you have a picture that you like. Keep in mind that this is the information that all the festivals are going to use to promote your film and yourself. So you should feel really comfortable with everything that you share with the platforms.
also the clip of yourself introducing the film, social media now, if you put up a video, it will promote it more frequently and more widely than if you put up an image. So that's why a lot of festivals are doing video, right? So even without COVID, it's still important.
Yes. So I think this is very basic to start approaching. Then I want to talk about premieres, because this is so important, because this is basically what is going to start in your strategy to design to which festival do you want to go. Especially the Class A festivals, which is the Oscar qualifiers. They require international premiere in the official sections. So you have to keep in mind what kind of premieres you need to know before designing your strategy. You have you have the world premiere, of course. The world premiere, this is the first time that your movie is gonna be shown. So it is the most important one. Also, like, keep in mind that even if you are planning to do a screening for your crew, or for a little group of friends, like, just don't put it up on social media, because there are no exceptions to this rule in big festivals. So just know what you're doing You want to show your movie to your team, you can do it, but just don't brag about it anywhere. They will find out. And also that you have to keep in mind also that a lot of festivals, they require a world premiere. And some of them, they don't say directly, but when you go to the program and you research the festival, you realize that most of the films are premiering. So just keep also that in mind before doing your strategy.
So they want you to premiere with them,
Yes.
basically. Yeah. I think this whole conversation for this workshop came about because we were talking about a few films that had gotten into Oscar qualifying festivals and then asked us to pull down all the information. And some of them were up for awards. So then we had to like redo all the awards at the last minute. And then Marta was like, I should do a workshop about this. It's like,
Yes. Because sometimes we are filmmakers and we know it might, I'm telling you international premiere and it might sound obvious what I'm talking about. Of course, it's the first time your movie is going to premiere outside its home country. But sometimes you have to keep in mind that you can go to a festival in your own country and you are inside the international section. So immediately you're having a national and international. So that is something to keep in mind too. It's kind of like puzzling. Like once you know the kind of movie you have, and you don't know the festivals yet, but you know you need a premiere, an international premiere. So you need to have like a map of festivals. Also keep in mind the dates. When are you going to start? That's so important. Sometimes, depending on the genre, I hate that word, of your film, you might wait for
genre.
I mean, this is like a squirrel, I cannot say that. So maybe if you have a horror film, you want to wait for October to premiere. I mean, you have to keep in mind all these details. No, but for international premiere, keep in mind what I'm saying. That sometimes even in your own country, it is considered international. So that's something that I learned along the way. National premiere, it could be in your own country, of course, but also in another country. It will be a national premiere in France or in Canada. So also to keep that in mind. And those are the three main premieres that you have to keep in mind: world, international, and national. And then there is three, I will say, sub-typologies, continental, regional, and local. Continental, of course, is the continent, and you will be surprised by some of the festivals. For example, Toronto Film Festival requires that it is North America, and some for Berlin has a section also that requires European. So that you have to keep in mind also. Regional, the word says itself. Like, for example, Spain is divided in autonomic communities. So some of them have festivals and they require to do the premiere in that specific place. Local as well. Some cities, for example, New York City, local premiere for the city. Tribeca Film Festival requires a local premiere. So if you are shooting for Tribeca, just keep that in mind if you are going to do a New York strategy. Also happens in Austin International Film Festival. They require that it is the first time that it's shown in Austin. So those are typologies of premieres. Having said this, I'll tell you, there are many strategies, but I will divide in two big groups that you can choose. One is a selective one, and the other one is intensive. And we are gonna go over them. It depends again on the kind of film that you have or what you expect from your film. But I will explain both of them so you get an idea. Selective. Selective strategy. Usually, you can use a selective. Selective, it says the name, like you are going to shoot for certain festivals that you think your film is gonna fit in. And they are usually, you're gonna be selective, you wanna choose Class A festivals, Oscar qualifiers, so because you believe in your project, you have to. So for this kind of a strategy, maybe you can use it, this is a long run. You have to wait, or if you have more projects, you can use it a few months and see the results. And depending on that, you jump into a more intensive one. Also, I put here some characteristics. Few shipments and registrations are made, and they are very spaced in time, as I'm saying. I will give you later on a list of film festivals of this interest. And you have to be patient. It can take forever. If you are going, you wish to go to Cannes, you have to wait for the time, you have to wait for the application and to have an answer. Maybe in that period of time, you are missing or losing the chance to premiere in another festival of your interest. And this is, once again, why you have to know very well the possibilities of your movie and where you're shooting. So that there is a lot of festivals. So if it is horror, it's drama, it's more social, you have to keep in mind all that. If we get a selection at a major and premiere festival, it helps a lot because immediately the other festivals of the same category, they are going to start inviting you. So that's a way to save money. And also be prepared for receiving bad news, of course, because when you're shooting for these kind of festivals, you really believe in your project, man, then you will be surprised, So just plan well what you want to do in the bigger run, and after maybe 1 year, you can figure it out and start another circuit. And this is the cool thing about film festivals. There are so many that if this one doesn't work, it's gonna work this one, because it's so segmented that you're gonna have fun anyway. So you must know your film and its possibilities well. That's obvious. Some people don't know, but you really need to look at the other films that were selected other years in Cannes, in La Berlinale, Venezia. You need to see more or less what's going on. So here I made a little list of festivals that you can use as a reference to start a strategy to premiere a debut. For example, in the first block, La Berlinale, La Semana de la Crítica de Cannes. I'm sorry, I'm saying this in Spanish. The week, the critic week, Critics Week in Cannes. Same in Venice, in Italy. San Sebastián in Spain, the International Film Festival. Locarno, Montreal, and Black Nights. Those are good to try to premiere. And if you are shooting for a New York Festival premiere strategy, I made a list of 6 festivals: Brooklyn, Nueva York, DOC, NYC, New Fest, Urban World, and Tribeca. And then once, if you decide for that, you say, okay, I have a movie, first of all, I'm taking New York. So keep in mind what I said before about premieres, You're going to New York, you want to shoot big, Tribeca, You go to Urban New World and you get selected and then selected in Tribeca, and you will have to withdraw your movie and you don't know what's going on. So usually you can combine. It's not like, oh, I'm going selective, oh, I'm going intensive. No, you can combine because, for example, if I have done a national premiere in my country, that's done. So now I'm shooting for other premieres in other countries. So I can start an intensive strategy in my own country because the premiere requirement is gone. So now you can start looking really like, there are so many cool festivals like Astoria Film Festival that you can apply for if you don't want to take in mind the premieres and all these requirements, you know. So you ideally first few months shoot for the stars and then when you realize the results and how it's going on, you start adjusting your strategy to what is more convenient to you, no? Because we'll talk about the intensive strategy now a little bit more. Intensive. This is the one I like. International or national premiere doesn't matter anymore. You just go there, you send. I mean, you need a bigger budget for this kind of strategy because nobody's gonna invite you or it's gonna give you waivers because it's not gonna happen. So you need a nice budget, and you know that you will increase the options of being selected, of getting a prize, maybe have the possibility of traveling, maybe. If things will be easier, that's the way it should be, you know. Now we don't travel anymore, so you know, we have the online, which is cool. You will see results super fast because you're applying for festivals that are really looking for the film, and you will see it fast, you know. Once you remove the premiere requirement, things get faster. And also include festivals of various types and thematics lines. Again, this word, genre, it is about increasing the segmentation options. So you really have many options, and it's so cool, and you meet so many good people. I will recommend that every time you get selected, you really are approachable to the festival, and if they have events, just show up, be there, meet people, because this is the cool thing at the end of the day, to make a community between filmmakers, no? Which is the big festivals, that's what they do in bigger parties and bigger events, but there's so many things, cool things to do, so don't disregard anything. Here's something that we talked about the other day also. Be careful with the fake festivals. Why? Because with the platforms and the online world, there are many festivals that appear to be real online, but they are not. How do you spot them? I'm not an expert in spotting, oh, you're fake, you know, but take a look. If they have super higher fees, they have many categories, like crazy, like not just best director, best DP, best editing, the causing of the other one, you know. Like sometimes you see festivals that have so many, and the fees are so expensive that it's kind of fishy. So just research a little bit, check what they did last year, check the filmmakers, if whatever they mentioned, you know, before paying high fees, just double check. As a last note here, some festivals to keep in mind, Clermont-Ferrand in France and Sundance, they don't require premiere of any kind. So it's good also for the intensive strategy, and they really have the category of class festivals. So it's always good to shoot for them. Here, I made 2 little blocks of examples of festivals when you are designing an intensive strategy. Once again, there are so many. I'm highlighting here the ones that got more fame, let's say, no? Alpinale, New Horizon, Art Film Festival, Lima Independiente in Peru, Open Eyes, and Yerevan. Those are no registration fees. Documentary festivals that do not require a premiere. Also, to put here 5 festivals exclusively for documentary, it's kind of unfair, because if you have a documentary film, there is a whole different run for your film. And really, like, some of the major festivals, they will require a premiere, and it's another run. Those are some examples that don't require premiere, but documentary film festivals, they I think they will deserve another workshop, a whole thing. We were talking about this before, Nina and I, because it's a lot of information depending on the kind of film that you have. You have a horror, you have a run, you have a drama, social, documentary, name it. Here, Class A festivals. This is the Oscar qualifiers. All of the Class A are Oscar qualifiers. And it's central in the distribution of short films. Let's say here, a selection in Cannes, Berlin, Locarno, or Venice, they have so much repercussion in other festivals that you will be invited to a lot of them. They do require premieres, international and world. So that's to keep in mind. This is just a description, no? Class A festivals, the ones that have the category for competitive feature film festivals, which is established, Nina, by the International Federation of Film Producers Association. So this is the main category they have.
Organization. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know.
They require premieres. Say here also, not all of them have sections for short films. So you have to think about that. So I made a little list here with film festivals that have sections for short films, competitive, or other ones that have that include short in the sections. And the last one, they do not include short films. So they are all awesome, but you have to know this information. Berlin, Cannes, Locarno, la Bienale de Venecia, Warsaw, Shanghai, Black Knight, Moscow, y El Cairo. That's the way to go if you want to do this run. Mar de Plata and San Sebastián, they include short films, but usually they are more focusing in feature films. Karlovy, Tokyo, India, Goa, exclusive for feature films. And here I made a little list of festivals and sections between 15 minutes and 60. You can see here, I can send you the information later on. Berlinale. We talk about this, how long it should be a short. What is a short film? It should be less than 10. And we were talking that most of the festivals, it is 15 minutes. But you see here in this list, 30, Berlinale, Berlin Generation, what I was saying before, just me, all the sections, 20 minutes. Cannes, Cannes Cine Fondation, again, it's inside Cannes, but it's another alley. Venezia, Warsaw, Shanghai, Locarno. POFF Shorts, Moscú, El Cairo, Mar de Plata, Donosti in Spain. So that's something to keep in mind too, the length of your movie. This is something that the first time I was working for a company in Mexico, and the guy was like, "Oh, bring me a DCP." What is that? You know, what is a DCP? DCP. Some festivals require a DCP. The definition: digital cinema package, is the digital version of a 35 millimeters film print. These usually festivals that project the movies in movie theaters, they will ask for a DCP. How do you do a DCP out of your movie? I will go directly to a laboratory, a studio, to like the right people to do it. This is between 50 and 150. It's gonna cost to have a copy of your movie. Usually, you can have many many layers for subtitles in many languages. Some of them they will tell you only one, but that's not true. Don't believe it. You can have many subtitles. You can ask for that. And you have the copy of your movie. I think it's worth it. Once again, depending on the kind of movie that you have. If you shot a movie with your friend with a little camera and you got lucky to get into festivals, I don't know if it is worth it or not. But if you're really for the real thing, it's something to keep in mind, because also some festivals, it is a must. Oh, you have to send me a DCP. So it happens to you, you know what it is. And I made a little list here of indie festivals, indie film festivals to keep in mind. If you like indie and if you are into indie filmmaking. So these are, I think I'm missing here Chicago, but CineQuest, Slamdance, San Luis, Nantucket, I'm not saying this right. And I love the Austin, the South, how is South, Southwest?
South by Southwest.
Yes.
I was about to jump in there, but I was slow to the button.
DC, New York City Independent, Camden, Holy Shore, Tribeca, Toronto, New York Film Festival, and Chicago also. I forgot to put it there. So that's also a nice run to keep in mind if you're going indie. And that's it. This is where I prepare your text details about your movie, know how to present, know how to sell it, know how to talk about the movie, be prepared for interviews to defend your project. Keep in mind premieres, international, national, local, regional, continental. Know your film, know what you're going to, select intensive or selective, then mix depending on the results. Just a few reference to festivals I think are worth to take a look at them. From now on, just research, because the main thing that I want to transmit is that you are done with a film. You're super excited. Now what? It makes you study a little bit. And so you have to look to the festivals, to the themes, to what you like, what is your budget, the realistic thing, the dreamy part, and make a map and be patient, and keep in mind that maybe you have 2 years ahead to develop all this strategy and have fun with it.
Wow.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
So these are the Oscar qualifiers.
Yes. We will send it also.
Yes.
It's a nice PDF to have.
Very. Thank you so much for all your research and for presenting it.
You're welcome. I encourage everyone that is approaching to do their own research and on the festival, because it changed so much. They changed the rules. It's a difficult road to come up with a strategy, and I think that nobody really will do it better than yourself.
Yeah. No, I often get asked like, where should I go? And I'm like, it's so personal. It's very much like, I'd have to really understand. One, I'd have to see the film, right? Because it's often people I haven't seen their film who are like, where should I do my festival? And I'm like, that's a whole consulting business. So
For real. But yeah, that's you have any more questions?
Questions, thoughts, comments, feel free.
I just have one question. It might even be more for you, Nina. I've heard things about keep your short film short, because if it's over 15 minutes, you're going to have a harder time getting it into a festival, because obviously you can program more films if they're shorter. How true is that?
It's definitely true. I mean, but it depends, right? If you have the amazing 30, like if the 30 minutes are all like just jaw dropping, and it does happen, then you're still going to get in. But as you're planning your festival, you're not just trying to squeeze as many in as possible. You're really thinking what will hold the audience's attention, right? Like, that's how I approach. Like, how do I put these all together in a way that's appealing, or who do I put together in this block that's going to kind of work well with the other? So there's a lot of factors that go into like, and it depends. Like if the festival is 10 days long, obviously there's going to be a lot more leeway to do whatever, or if they're online. Like last year when we had COVID, we only screened the winning films because we just didn't have, like, we were doing it outdoors and all that. So we could take a lot more films because we didn't have to fit them all into the 2 days or 2.5 days that we are renting the space for. So so you're trying to kind of just figure out, like, with this amount of space I have, with the amount of time I have, like what do I like? B, what do my judges like? C, what will the audience watch this? Like, there's some things where you're like, I love this, but I'm kind of weird. Like, will my audience love it? I don't know. Like totally, like you're just, so, and that's why you have a panel of judges, so that you're all, it's not just one person's view. Though, like, honestly, the very first festival was just me and me making my husband watch our very first festival, and me making my husband watch everything, like, which one, like driving him absolutely crazy. He's an astrophysicist. He's not really a film guy, but he was very, gracious about it. And he's always been, but yeah, but I only had one day. It was our first go round, and I just kind of put together like a 4-hour like block. Like, I didn't even give people times to go, but people were riveted because I literally spent like weeks arranging and rearranging. Okay, no, this one flows better into that one. That one flows. It was one of the best festivals because I, kind of had that like control, if you will, over the whole process. But anyway, point being, it's easy to say, okay, this isn't the greatest film in the group, but it's 2 minutes, so I can get that in there, right? And versus this isn't the greatest film in the group, and it's 30 minutes, right? It really unfortunately comes down to who else is with you, like who else is submitting. So people are often like, why didn't I get selected? And I'm like, well, look at who got selected, right? Do you is your film in that category, right? Like, do you think you're even? So like, maybe if those films hadn't come in, you would have been selected, because it's all relative. Fortunately and unfortunately, depending on which way it goes for you. But yeah, it's really, there's no science and like to it. You're really trying to take in as many factors as possible. And you know, when you do actually have a jury that participates like we did the past few years, yeah, then, you know, literally, like we had we had like 2 hour at a time Zoom meetings where we were each fighting for our favorites, and like, and they kept changing, and then they kept be like, well, what if I do this? Would you be mad at me? Well, but what then? What are you going to give them? Okay, we'll give them this, because you know, it was so, you know, you have people who really like take favorites and then fight like about it for over a month. So like, nothing we did was done lightly, you know what I mean? Like, so, and I'm not saying everybody operates this way. I tend to be a little crazy like that, but you know, and there are some festivals, I think, if you submit, you're getting in. They just want to kind of sell tickets. They put as many in as many days, right? And that has its merits too. That's just not how we do it. So it depends too on that. Like, you have to kind of, all right, who's organizing, who's doing the selections? Like, not often does like the director kind of oversee the selections as much as I do in my experience. So, you know, Marta, do you have any input on that?
Yes, yes, for Judy. Also, some festivals, they have a section for short films, but they subdivided less than 10 minutes and up to 20, or I don't know exactly, but they have like short or short, let's see.
Right.
No?
Yeah, I've thought of doing that, but yeah, I think mixing it up is more fun for the audience, because I'm when I'm planning it out, I'm definitely thinking of, you know, the audience and the flow of it all. Salma said, which actually that came to mind too. So it's funny you said that, Salma. So I used to do admissions, like after I graduated college. I volunteered with college admissions for about 5 years, and we did have those same type of kind of fight. So we'd volunteer to do interviews with prospective students, and then there'd be committees that basically would kind of decide who went through to the, you know, like who we sent from New York to the college to look at, with recommendations from our you know, allotment of them. And we did have similar drag it out fights over around a table over like where certain people just really champion certain students and were fighting for them, you know, whereas other people were like, I don't see that. I don't see them in this college. And you were like, I definitely see them in this college. That person's, you know, that's old hat. That's the same. We need this, you know, so it is very similar to college admissions. But again, it depends where you go, right? And it depends on who's involved in your specific situation that year. So it's unfortunately very subjective. So that's why it's not like, if anybody tells you like, oh, I can figure out your whole festival strategy, it's a scam, because it's that you can't, like, it's very selective and emotional, and, you know, it's not like, clearly, obviously with larger festivals, they have PR agents that they're pushing in. If there's certain agents that they have a connection with, that's, you know, going to happen because they want to respect that connection. You know, once you get representation, the larger festivals tend to take a look at you where they wouldn't, right? Like that happened a lot with Sundance. It happens a lot with many of the larger festivals, that, you know, they basically have relationships with agencies, and they're going to look at their people before they look at someone random off the street. So not that random off the street doesn't happen, but so it really depends. When people come to me and say, you know, where should I apply? I usually say, let me look at your film, and, you know, what are your connections? If you don't have any, then maybe do this, maybe do that. And what are your goals? Like, is your end goal an Oscar, or is your end goal more connections to make more films? Is your end goal, you know, creating a community? So it depends on what people are looking for. And not that you can't get recognition without the Oscar either. Like, you know, but I think a lot of people who come through our festival, I've noticed over the years, are coming because they like the community. They want to meet other filmmakers. We've had collaborations come out of the first festival that were then in the third festival. That's like a great thing. Or like people who created shorts who then created features. That's why we have a feature section now, because our former filmmakers started creating features and we were like, sure, we want you back, So, or like our former filmmakers created podcasts. So we added a podcast section. Like, that's kind of how this festival has grown. I'm like, yeah, this is your home. We want you back if you want to come back. So, but clearly not everybody works that way, but some do. But yeah, unfortunately, I have heard from filmmakers over the years that once they signed with the agency representation of some sort, it was much easier to get into those, TIFF, et cetera, et cetera.
What's a agency?
I'll find out more. Actually, there's somebody in mind who was telling me this, so I'll ask him. So he basically, he signed up with an agency and he was like, all of a sudden, like I have all these festival runs now that I never would have gotten into. And he's been in the business for ages. Yeah, if there's people who have relationships, there's agencies that have relationships with, I think, places like Sundance in Toronto, and if you're on, and they will push you, they will promote you. It's like the Oscars, right? The Oscars aren't pure like selection. The Oscars are promotion and connections as much as quality. Right. So you're doing it independently. You're not signed by anybody. So that basically you can be bought by people who like you, right? Like that's the end goal at some point. So that's the whole premise of indie, is that your rights do not already belong to a company, right? They belong to you and you can sell them. And that's, you're kind of shopping around your film is what you're doing at festivals. Or you're trying to meet other people and, get to the next film. So, and that's why a lot of startup festivals are short festivals, because those are the filmmakers who are starting. So it makes sense that they go to starting festivals and then they build from there, right? Their community, their work, their repertoire. But yeah, so.
That's the coolest thing. Like really, like the thing that I like the most about our festival is that like everybody that jumps in, it's super cool, right? And you really have the sense of the community, which is cool, because sometimes I think as a filmmaker doing the run, you have to keep as a part of the task to interact with the festival and everything.
Yes. I think that's a huge part. I have to tell you, Judy, that Marta was one of the people who fought for your film like crazy.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely loved it. She really brought it to all of our attention, and I'm grateful because it is definitely become one of my favorites. But it was definitely Marta who was like, you have to look at this film. So
I really do appreciate that. And we just started sending to festivals right before COVID hit. So I think we had 3 in-person festivals, and then we had a year of online festivals. And of course, that was better than nothing. But it's just not the same to hear the audience response. I mean, that's why you want to do it. You want to hear how people react to it. And so it was so great. This was only our second in-person festival after basically a year of online festivals.
Wow. Yeah.
And, you could sort of argue some of the festival actually came out and said, well, we were able to take more films because it was just online, like you had mentioned before. And then you start to think, oh, does that mean you wouldn't have accepted us if it was in person? But this was really great. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a wonderful film, and I hope it has great success everywhere.
Thank you.
But you already had great success with us because we loved it. But yeah, Marta was like, you've got to watch these. And I was like, I will. Marta like ruled those juror meetings. Everybody was like, okay, whatever you want.
I'm very passionate. What can I say?
Very passionate.
It
Poor
really
Charlie.
was a
We
thrill for
we
us.
ran over Charlie. Poor Charlie was like, whatever you want, ladies.
Es verdad.
Es
What's
verdad.
that? I have to think about it. I have to
Like,
look
well,
at my
he'd be
notes.
like, well, I think you're saying that you would like. I'm like, no, Charlie, that's not what you're supposed to do here. But he's so kind. And it's like, no, fight us. But anyway, I digress. It was a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Please keep in touch with the festival because we do, we're happy to have people do whatever they want to do. Like we've had people come back and talk to our kids during the year and talk about their careers and just kind of give them an idea of what they might be able to do or give them hope of some sort, or people have come to teach a class here and there. People have come back as judges, so we're happy to have participation going forward as much as you want. We won't bother you, but if you want to be, we'd love to have.